Hey everyone, my name is Daniel Holloway. This is Farm to the Table episode 6, and we're here at Mountsburg Conservatory, and this episode's on maple syrup. It's a Canadian, pretty much cornerstone of Canadian cuisine, and it's an art form, and it's part of our tradition. And this tradition has been carried out throughout history, even before recorded time. The Aboriginals would fashion clay pots and boil the sap from the sugar maple trees to make maple syrup. They would also make stick huts, creating the first sugar shacks. And throughout time, they've perfected the technology of maple syrup by tubing and evaporation. And I think maple syrup should be part of everyone's breakfast, to be honest with you, because it's delicious and it goes well with pancakes. But other than that, I got some pretty cool things coming up. I'm doing a cedar trout with maple mustard glaze on top, over top a leek and onion tart, which should go well with the cedar plank trout. And as far as maple syrup goes, history is nothing without learning from it. So let's see what Amy has to say about maple syrup.
Well, last year we only made 75 gallons of syrup the whole year. This year we've already made more than 100, and we have another 900 liters of sap to process, or gallons of sap to process. So I would say probably 125.
125 gallons.
Probably in there. So what it's doing right now, that is pouring out of this tree. Like, that is really dripping.
And that's solely because of the weather that we've been having.
Yep, yeah. That it was cold last night and it's warmer now and it's perfect. Basically, one tree will produce generally this much syrup in a season. So this tree's got one bucket on it. It'll produce about 40 buckets worth of sap. So for one bucket, it has to be at least 10 inches or 25 centimeters in diameter. If you put a bucket on a tree that's smaller than that, you'll inhibit its growth. Because they need the sap, right? So it's kind of like giving blood. Like, the tree has enough for itself and it has enough to donate some to us. But if I put 5 buckets on this tree, it would hurt the tree because they need some of their sap to be able to grow.
Well, does the tree benefit from pulling sap from it?
No,
like picking an orange off a tree?
No, it doesn't benefit from it, but it's kind of like, it's like giving blood. Like, if you do it responsibly, it's not going to hurt the tree.
So we're going to start with the tart, because we got to chill the tart and it needs some time to rest. So we're going to do 1 1/4 cups of flour, and then we're going to do about a teaspoon of salt, and that's what I got in here. Sift it, because you won't like little clumps of little bits. You don't know what has fallen in the flour, so I usually sift out the granules by just getting a strainer or a sifter. And then, since it's a savory tart, there's no sugar in it, but we're going to do a little bit of butter, about 1/2 cup. And this is chilled butter. It has to be chilled. The reason being is because you want to create layers, little air pockets within the tart, to create like almost like a crunchy consistency, and you're not going to do that if your butter is melted. Because think of the butter as like an adhesive. So if the butter is melted, it's going to create almost like a gluey, glutinous texture to the tart. You're not going to get a flakiness. So the butter has to be cold. You dredge it through the flour. You get a grater. It's kind of like cheese. You just grate the butter, kind of like that. So I'm going to put a whack load of cracked peppercorn in there, because I really want that peppery flavor to come out. Pepperness is not an actual word. So I'm just going to crack some peppercorn in there. About, looks like a tablespoon. Mix that in. Very nice. Okay, so this is an important step. You have to have ice cold water to keep the butter from melting. If you put warm water, you're going to melt the butter and you're going to create that problem that I just mentioned. So I have 3 tablespoons of ice cold water. Put it in the freezer for a little while, just at the point where it's starting to turn to ice, and then throw that in. And then I have apple cider vinegar, 1 tablespoon. Put that in as well. And just mix. It should come together. If you find that your pastry is too dry, you can add maybe just a little bit more, maybe one more, or maybe a half a tablespoon just to form it, but it seems like it's coming together quite nicely. See the peppercorns, nice doughy consistency. So once your dough has been rolled out nice and evenly, about maybe half an inch thick, I'm just going to use my knife to kind of square it off. This is a rustic tart that I'm just squaring off. I'm going to do rectangles and have the leeks just, you know, along top of the tart shell. You can do circles, you can do triangles. Lay that on your baking. This guy's going to go in the freezer, and it's going to set up in the freezer, and then we're going to bake it off at 450 degrees for about 10 to 15 minutes. So for the tart filling, or topping rather, I'm going to do 1 medium-sized parsley root, 2 cloves of garlic, one pack of enoki mushrooms. These are grown in Ontario. Actually, there's a farm in Milton. And if you check out episode 2 of Farm to the Table, I was actually there. So check that out. I also have some fresh tarragon, about a generous bunch, a bunch of thyme, and 1 leek. But I'm gonna slice right up to there because it starts getting tough about this. Like the stalk starts getting tough. So what I usually do is I keep the tough part of the stalk, and I use it for soups, or I freeze it for stocks, or if you're braising meats or vegetables, it's good for braising, but for a quick saute, it's too tough for that. So we're going to discard it for now. So cut that off. I have a 1/4 cup of butter that I'm going to put on my pan. I have a cast iron pan here. It's fairly hot. And let that melt. Have my root parsley. And I'm going to do, and my thyme, sorry. What I'm going to do is I'm going to caramelize the parsley root. Go. And get my leeks that I have just washed in the colander. And please wash your leeks. Wash all your vegetables, but especially your leeks, because what happens is that dirt gets in the crevices here, and it's terrible. No one wants like the dirt in their teeth. It's not appetizing at all. So please wash your leeks. So while these are jiving in the cast iron, I pull out my tart shells, slide them in the oven. Nice and firm. I'm going to throw in my garlic. Let it caramelize as well. And if you notice, I'm reserving my mushrooms and my tarragon. There's a reason for this. These are very delicate, the enoki mushrooms, so if you overcook them, they become slimy and kind of limp. I want to keep that body. Also, tarragon's very delicate as well. It's a delicate leaf. kind of like basil. So you don't want to cook the crap out of it. You just want to kind of just fold it with the caramelized vegetables. I'm going to turn this on low, and then I'm going to start with my glaze for the trout. 1 shot of maple syrup. I'm going to put a half shot of maple syrup in the parsley root saute, just to bring up the sweetness. And the other shot is going to be for me. Here's to a great season, boys. Got about a tablespoon of sea salt. Might seem like a lot, but for a glaze it's not going to be that much because you're going to keep on wiping on the trout, and you want a lot of salt to punch through. I also have black cracked pepper. And there's your glaze for the trout. So I pulled my trout out of the fridge, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean the belly part. So this is all fat. I'm just going to slice that down. Now you can get your fish guy, your fishmonger, to take your scales off and debone, because there's a little bit of pin bones in the center of the fillet. So what he does is he just takes tweezers and he just kind of plucks them. Or you can do it yourself, but it's a headache. So my trout's all cleaned up. I'm going to put that on my cedar plank. You can kind of fit it on the cedar plank by just pushing the fish inward. And this has been soaking for about an hour or so, the cedar plank, so it's ready to go. I got my glaze, and we're going to go out to the barbecue. Okay, so my tarts are ready. I'm going to pull them out. Nice and flaky. I'm just going to let them sit here to rest. My caramelization is pretty much done. So I'm going to add my mushrooms. Okay, so we have our cedar plank lake trout with our open tart and our parsley root, kind of like mini tarts. This is Marie, everyone. So
hi, everyone.
We don't really eat like this all the time.
We do, actually.
I'm lying. Being as like you're not a big fan of maple, how is it?
It's really good. Actually, kind of has like an apple, like a smoked apple flavor.
I think because the vinegar, the apple vinegar, the tart.
That's good.
Thank you. Maple whiskey. I had to.
Water. Someone needs to be in charge.
Remember, great food's at your back door. Cheers.